But today was superb, and the whole thing is around the energy we're going to bring on Saturday. And Kitty spoke to them very well and ran the session. So no, it's now in a good space.
Great. All right, guys, we can turn it over to you now if you've got any questions.
Hi, Dobbo. That's fine. Go ahead.
Thanks. Dobbo, sorry, just was wondering if you guys have been able to really put your finger on just what hasn't really clicked so far in the competition. I mean, you obviously did a lot of work in that long pre-season, which hasn't quite translated into performances just yet. Just your thoughts on exactly maybe the missing ingredient.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know if we've gone, I don't know if we've gone too hard or, our big thing was to try and get the territory, and every one of these games we won territory. Maybe that's come at other areas of our game, expensive other areas. That's probably been a challenge, that we worked so hard and trying to break our territory from a 40% average in the last couple of games before lockdown to get into the 50s, which we've got, even that game last week. But obviously we've lacked a certain sort of fluidity on attack. Honestly, our defence has been good at this union for a long time, and that was just a poor day at the office. I don't think I've ever seen a game where we didn't get one scrum put in. We're about to have it in the 63rd minute, which just shows how clinical and clinical and ruthless the Bulls were. Not one scrum put in on our ball, and obviously our plan was a lot around that. I think also we must look at the competition as a whole. That these guys have been going for close to a year. Every union, the Bulls have obviously come with a larger new player roster and a new coach and massive energy. I don't think the other franchises are playing with the same sort of panache that they perhaps were before lockdown, any of us. This has been an extraordinary thing. It's taken a lot out of the players, playing in front of no crowds. We're no different. I'm not trying to say justify it, but it is, the Bulls is a new setup, and that brings energy. These guys and everybody in this call has been through a lot this year, and I think it reflects sometimes in how we play. So I think, Craig, that's a very long answer. The short question is, we would like to be playing more with attack, and at some stage the passes will stick. So that's about it.
Leeton, you had a question?
Yes, Fitzy, for you, it's your 100th. We know not a lot of guys get that W in their 100th game. It's always like a bogey number when it comes to that. Dobbo's spoken about how you guys train and everything, but if you can tell us maybe just how desperate you are as a team, and especially you as well in your 100th game to get this the win.
Yeah, I think the whole group as a whole is very desperate to play a good game of rugby. I mean, we've put in all the hard work during pre-season, and as Dobbo mentioned, and every week has been good training, but we just haven't found our straps yet when it comes to a Saturday. I mean, clawed our way back against the Pumas, had a tough game against the Lions. But yeah, I think the guys are desperate to actually prove themselves for 80 minutes on a Saturday and not just have a good week every time, but also a good weekend. So I think the desperation is there from the team, and you can feel it. And I mean, it was 7 days is a long time in rugby to change it around. So I think the amount of effort and energy that went into this week proves that the guys are willing to bounce back and give their everything for the jersey.
Leeton, sorry, just for the record, the last 200s were Sia and France, and we won both those games, eh? So, yeah.
I know, but generally
cool. No, just checking if you're aware. Gavin, you got a question?
It's the Springboks who struggle when they get to 100. Dobbo, I was just going to ask you if you're talking about there obviously is a need to grow the squad. So, and I haven't seen all your selections yet. Actually, I have to be honest. So I don't actually know what you've changed. I just know you've made 5 changes. How much of an element is there to growing the squad, and also at a time like this, you as a coach needs to sort of put out a message to sort of say to players that aren't performing that they can't just play there on reputation. Is there an element of that as well? Like you're putting a bit of a firecracker under some of the players?
Yeah, I mean, I think we what we really we really can't reward is a lack of effort. So if we feel that there's lack of efforts for some reason, now I can understand, execution errors or something like that, or coaching errors or system errors, but not effort. So that we have to keep cognizant of that. We have to win this game. I mean, I've chosen a team that I think is best to win this game, and just because those guys bring energy. But you are dead right, Gav, that and I think we see across all the franchises now is that reputations are being worth less, and people are making some changes, and we're going to have to do the same. People say we Springbok led, and as I say, when we finished in Nelspruit, I think Warwick was the only one left on the field. So it's we do have to. So we've got to reward guys who can energize and produce now. I mean, we have to beat Griquas. That's the truth.
So in the counterbalancing the point that I'm making about putting a firecracker under established players, you're also saying then that guys who do really well now, could actually become more permanent fixtures in the team if they really do well. I mean, have you incentivized them in that way?
Definitely. I mean, look. I mean, David, the lock is probably Salman and JD going really well. So that David would that's probably not really an open door, because that wouldn't be fair on Salman or JD. But the rest, it's wide open in that respect. If a guy like Angelo Davids or Marcel Tunis, and especially without Sia and Nama, there's a massive opportunity at 6. So yeah, they are incentivized.
Thanks.
Dobbo, you've spoken widely about the energy that's in training and everything, but it just doesn't seem to be translating onto the field, especially when the going gets tough. Or you had a very good start against the Bulls, I would say, but then it was sort of like you guys took your foot off the pedal. Why do you think that, or do you feel that energy on the training field is not translating over to the field?
I think Stephen suggested the same thing. We're not producing a good enough performance on the weekend. Why that is not the case? It's tough at the moment. We as I say, going up to altitude is our 3rd week up there in a row. It's not insignificant when you don't get a chance at Newlands to play in front of the faithful. But it is that is later. I completely agree. That's what we've identified as the thing, is to bring more energy in the game. So whether we've been going too hard later in the week with our training numbers, or that could be a reason. But we're certainly trying to sort of freshen things up so we can get a better performance on the Saturday.
How about just a word on the new guys? You mentioned Angelo and also Marcel Tennis, and just a word on the energy that you think they will bring.
Yeah, I mean, both. I don't know how much you guys saw it wasn't on TV, but streamed, of the under-21 tournament. They went up 4 Saturdays. Well, it wasn't always Saturdays. 4 Saturdays or Sundays at Mondays, even at 12 or 1:30, they kicked off and played at Ellis Park in the heat, and those two were absolutely outstanding. So it goes back to Gav's point, they brought energy up there, so they're getting rewarded for that. I mean, that was a really tough competition. So Angelo is a highly, he's got great work ethic, chases kicks, got X factor. I mean, he was scoring a couple of hat tricks in that competition. And Marcel was a skipper and just ran the whole Ellis Park full in the heat. So Kimberley should be right for him. So I wanted to reward those guys with their performance, for their performances for under 21.
Where does Jaco Coetzee fit into the picture? I mean, he's a kind of a player of national interest, but by all accounts, he looks like he's now number 4 in his position at the Stomers. Can you just give your thoughts on Jaco Coetzee?
Steve, sorry, Jaco got concussed in training on Tuesday. So that's 3 6s out, so he was unavailable this week anyway. Our feeling with him is him and Trocky are very similar. They're both, Jaco's probably more naturally an 8. They're good kick returners, carriers. They're both good over the ball, not great line-out forwards. So that is probably a challenge. That at the moment it's him and Trocky sort of competing for the same position, but both rightfully players of national interest. I mean, our challenge is to bring Jaco through better than probably we have been, but he wasn't available for selection this week.
Yes, I take from that you see him as a number 8 going forward.
Yeah. More. I mean, he could do a job at 6. 6 and 8 are quite similar. Sia could do a job at 8 as well. So it's fairly interchangeable at the moment. But the way we want to play at the moment, it's probably Jaco is a big impact player. He makes big tackles, big carries, but he's not a sort of high volume engine sort of player, you know. So, and that's probably success to do a bit more of that. So that's probably why I see him more as an 8 at the moment.
Stephen, if I could maybe ask you, you know, you're a player who a year ago was at the World Cup, and you know you had all those massive crowds behind you and everything, and you also play for a union and a franchise that gets more support than most. And Newlands is special. It's a little bit like maybe Anfield in a way, and the way it energizes the home team. How much is the lack of energy, because I mean it is quite palpable at the moment, that lack of energy maybe got to do with the fact, okay, you haven't had home games anyway, but in a normal season you have a game at Newlands every second week that can remind you of why you're doing this and can really energize you and get you going.
Yeah, it's definitely something to get used to. I mean, the first couple of games is weird and strange. I mean, jogging out at Loftus, even though you in Pretoria, there's still noise and people cheering, whatever, but it's quiet. It's something you have to get used to, and it's part of the new world we're living in. So I think hopefully after 4 games, guys are used to it, and actually we can generate our own energy on the field among each other. I mean, sometimes players need that feeding of the crowd and that energy they bring and that atmosphere that's around a rugby game. But now it's something new and strange, and we'll have to find ways to energize ourselves.
Even having said that, what is it like playing Griquas in Kimberley?
Yeah, I think the last time I played there was 2015. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I haven't been there in a while, so I know it's going to be tough. I know the Griquas are tough at home, and but to be honest, I think for me personally, there's a lot more motivation around this game, being at my 100, and so I'm hopefully draw a lot of energy from that, and trying to motivate the guys with a good performance.
No, but you have had a very odd draw. I mean, I just assumed that you were playing Griquas and Newlands just because you've played so many away in a row now. You had the early bye. I mean, that's you know, I mean that was a problem for continuity. I mean, it does seem like quite an odd draw.
Yeah, I mean,
considering that the unlocked is decided after 6 games. So I mean, you've got 3 games left as you talk, and so you've got 1 more away game, and then you've got 2 home games in a row.
No, it's worse, Gav. We've actually only got 2 home games the whole round and 4 away games because the Sharks is away. So it is, you know, to have 4 on the road. And as I say, at this time of the year, we've been going for so long, going up to altitude and these temperatures. I mean, again, one doesn't want to sound like we're making excuses, but it is tough. And that's probably, we need to try and get our energy to get through that. But that is a tough draw. It obviously helps us in the second round when the Currie Cup is in play more directly, you know. So, yeah, it's quite nice as we get another chance to play. We play the Bulls again at the end of this month. The draw isn't traditional. Yeah.
Robert, just further to Gav's question, I mean, how do you approach the 2 competitions? Do you put unlocked into like one compartment and then look at the Currie Cup as something completely different, or are you just viewing it as one long season that you kind of, you know, if you haven't started so well that you can kind of build over the course of the next couple of months, or do you put a line in the sand after unlocked and start afresh for the Currie Cup?
No, we're working entirely for the for the Currie Cup on the 23rd of January. It's one season for us. You know, if we're going to go into unlocked with these away games and then re-energize again, no. So we've got a goal. We've got a goal of being in the final on the 23rd of January, ideally at Newlands. We haven't started particularly well, but it is a reasonably long journey with lots of games still to come out here at Newlands. So no, we're definitely taking a longer term view. But we're trying to win every game, make no mistake. But long term.
Dobbo, just on bringing someone in like Angelo, you have a bunch of very good wings at the Union, but they haven't seemed to put their hands on the ball because you're not getting your attack going. Has there been a discussion amongst your 9, 10, 12, 13 about distributing the ball more, try to get the ball more to a guy like Angelo, a guy like Leolan, even Edwell, he had 1 or 2 touches, I think it was against the Pumas, and he looked so good with the ball in hand.
Yeah, I mean, I think attacks evolved beyond just 9, 10, 12, you know, it's how we how we use the forwards, whether we're playing off 9, whether we're playing off 10. I agree with you. They haven't got enough attack opportunities, full stop. We have lacked a bit of rhythm. What really has been our issue is we've failure to launch. We didn't have one scrum against the Bulls, so we can't do that. They didn't turn any ball over, so there's nothing for them there. They didn't kick the ball really out, so we had limited lineouts. And even before in the competition, of our lineouts, whether we messed up a delivery like against the Pumas, or we dropped a slider, which is when the loose forward pulls out of the maul. We just literally, our launch rate is so appalling that has been so poor that we haven't got any rhythm on attack. And I don't think it's as cliche as cliched as it's Damien's fault or the 9's fault or the 12's fault. We just haven't got ourselves launched. We aren't winning the possession battle to the extent we like. We aren't creating the turnovers that we would like, which is where guys like Angelo, Zassi, Ed will all come into their own. But as I said, at some stage it'll start sticking.
John, taken what you've said about winning this weekend in Kimberley, do you still have a goal in place to win the unlock competition, or do you think it's maybe out of reach and maybe more of a thing of the K Cup now?
No, I said we're taking a long-term review. We want to be in the Currie Cup final, make no mistake. So, but unlocked, I think actually the Bulls have lost a game. The Cheetahs have had to share a game. So I think unlocked is reasonably. The Sharks have dropped one. There's a big one in Bloemfontein in Durban tomorrow night. Somebody's going to lose there. I think the Bulls, the way they're playing, probably definitely got the inside track, but it's by no means over. But as I say, our goal is to be playing rugby on the 23rd of January.
All right, guys, are we happy? Any other questions?
Just a question for
Stephen.
Yeah. Stephen, I just wonder your thoughts on South African rugby having committed itself to the Rugby Championship for the next 10 years. I mean, how do you feel about that? Obviously being able to get that high quality of opposition, playing the All Blacks, and also about the prospect of these mini tours of 2 games.
Yeah, I haven't actually read the full article. I just saw it quickly in over social media. But I mean, playing against the All Blacks, and playing against quality international test matches is any international player is looking for. I mean, playing for the box, you want to test yourself against the best, and I mean, especially after the World Cup, we want to play and meet and keep our #1 ranking. So, but at the moment, it's just focusing on the next 3 months or 2 months till the end of Currie Cup, and then I think after that we can start focusing on international rugby again.
I was just
on.
Sorry,
Stephen, just on your
Yeah.
Carry on, Leighton.
Thanks, Adnan. Stephen, just on that energy that you have, some guys seems that they've had a bit of a battery drainer during lockdown, but you seem to just pick up where you left in the World Cup just before Super Rugby was stopped as well. You played some very good games. Where do you get that energy from? Is it partly from the youngsters that you play with? What has given you that extended energy?
Yeah, I think the honest answer probably be, geez, I love rugby, and I mean, it's my job, and I love waking up every morning and coming to training. And then the second part is, I think most of the guys were still training hard and actually preparing for, because it was only 3 weeks initially, the hard lockdown, but I tore my pec in that time, and I was out for 3 months completely, where I couldn't do any training. So I mean, it was almost like a restart, like a little bit of a sabbatical for me. And then joining the team again when we could start training was something I was looking forward to. So I mean, I just want to play good rugby and represent my team well.
Right, guys, we're going to have the final word from Adnan for a change.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. I just wanted to ask Davo, looking at last week's game with the All Blacks and reading the comments afterwards, they said they just went back to making things simple. Is that something that you guys maybe thought of or saw and realized? Maybe sometimes you try to do too much and just to go back to the simple things, and then things will happen.
Yeah, it's a good question, and exactly what we talked about this week. We spent a lot of time on how we're going to be complicated to win the territory battle and that. We made it, obviously I don't want to go into too much detail, but we simplified down to 3 things for this week. I completely agree with you. And some of the box, we had a leadership meeting this morning, flagged the same thing, to keep it pretty simple, because we've got the personnel. And so it just, if we make the plan really understandable and simple, we've certainly got the ability, just throwing in the energy. So yeah, Steve, spot on with that.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for your time, man. All the best. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Cheers.